This is Qtv News and I am Jennifer Sonko. Thank you for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. There's an important announcement from the Independent Electoral Commission about a temporary suspension of the voters' registration exercise. Following the resumption of the Meet the People tour, President Barrow has continued to hear the concerns of communities in Sanyang and Burfoot, as well as in New Yundum and Nemakunku. In what is becoming an established tradition, the First Lady Fatomata Babaro has made her annual donations to the families of babies born on the first day of 2021 in various hospitals. World Braille Day is commemorated today, and we hear of some of the problems experienced by blind and partially sighted people in the Gambia. A former USA soldier and one-time Deputy Inspector General of Police and Director General of the Gambia Immigration Office appeared before the TRRC to narrate his ordeal at the hands of the NIA and the junglers. And in yet another accident on our roads, 2 people have died after the vehicle they were in collided with an overturned trolley. In international news, according to a recently released audio recording, US President Donald Trump appears ready to go extraordinary lengths to clinch onto power. And we hear about the man who fell from the sky and survived. On to some sports news. Gambia Sports Goodwill Ambassador secures a full-time international coach for our women's volleyball team. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Now, a press release from the Independent Electoral Commission states that due to the logistical challenges beyond its control, the general registration of voters exercise scheduled to start on 14 January has been postponed until further notice. New dates will be announced in due course. President Barrow on Sunday held meetings in the coastal settlements of Sanyang in Komba South and Burfoot in Sanimentering, where the people appeal for hotels, good roads, proper sporting facilities and adequate water and electricity supply, among others. Alusise has the rest of that.
At Sanyang in Komba South, the people appeal for, among many things, an ambulance for the Sanyang Health Center and an upper basic school to complement the existing lower and senior school. Concerns were raised over the increasing road accidents as they urged the government to take a formidable stance to address the menace. There was an appeal for the construction of the roads in the region, in addition to electricity and water supply expansion. The community in Sanyang has one of the most beautiful and cleanest beaches in the country, but the road leading to it is almost inaccessible. The people of the coastal area also want hotels in the area. At Burfoot, the people of Sanimentering constituency informed the president of the deplorable state of staging roads connecting the communities, in addition to the lack of proper markets and inadequate water supply. President Barrow said all the concerns are noted and are part of his development agenda and will be addressed gradually. But he was quick to ask for patience from the people, as the concerns are quite many to be addressed within a short period. He pledges to work hard to live up to the expectations of the people. He called on the people of Kombo South and Sanimentering to avoid people who will use tribalism to advance their political agenda, preaching that every Gambian should see the country first. The government, he said, will continue to respect the rights of the people. He used the meetings to implore the youth to acquire skills and engage in productive sectors such as the fisheries sector. Ibrahim Silla, Minister of Information, said he has been informed by the Tourism Minister that there are plans to build 5 five-star hotels in Kombo South. On land disputes, he said the problems are inherited, but due process is being followed as dictated by law to address the issues. According to him, the current government has no intention to forcefully take lands from the people. The veteran journalist, who was arrested several times and eventually exiled by the former government, announced that the government plans to build more roads in Kombo South and West Coast region. The outspoken Ibrahim Silla urged village heads to avoid being used to violate the law by not giving national documents to citizens of the country. He denounces politics of insult and character assassination, warning that aggressive politics is not beneficial. President Barrow's strong supporter, Ahmed Jite, a native of Kombo South based in Canada, praised the president for what he calls his humility and respect for humanity, as he called on the people of Kombo South to remain loyal and supportive to the president.
President Barrow moñu safal affaire bi safantela kula saf nga saf ko lolu motax mo wax lu.
Ami Fabre, Minister of Agriculture, said there are plans to construct new women gardens and upgrade the existing ones in the West Coast region including Jambanjeli Women Garden, together with storage facilities. Musa Drame, the lands minister, said funds have been secured to expand water supply in Tanje, Tujereng, Sanyang, and Jambanjeli, among others. He also announced plans to improve the Brewfoot and other community markets. He added that fish smoking and cold storage will be built for the fishmongers together with a fishing training center in Tanje. Lamin Sane, governor of West Coast Region, thanked the people of his region for the welcome accorded the president. The tour entered the KMC on Monday with a meeting in Bundung. There will be a meeting in Ibo Town on Tuesday and Bakau on Wednesday. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Aliou Cisse.
President Barrow has condemned what he calls the politics of tribalism as he urged Gambians to embrace each other as people who should see country above anything. He was speaking on Saturday in New Yundum and Nemakunku. Aliou Cisse again.
Addressing rallies in New Yundum and Nemakunku, President Barrow denounced politics driven along tribal lines. He said all Gambians are equal and one family, advising that politics shouldn't divide them. He describes Gambia as a country where everyone is interrelated, hence the need to promote social cohesion.
Rokombonkol mo karana jam prukal nene na kelo menke kelo bandale ika badiya fasa menke be badi jumale fasa la Gambia be badi kilingol ndel be badi kilingol nan ko nga badiya fasa kuma kunta wona won way jumale nafa do be kede muy la badi won amena fa fenna yalla jumale mu ne kummayar Gambia le kummayar.
He revealed that 646 communities will be electrified this year across the country as part of the many electricity projects. The Nemakunku Road, he said, is among the many urban roads to be built as part of the OIC hosting projects. He promised the people of Nemakunku and surrounds life-changing projects, including water and electricity. On religious empowerment, he said the government is allocating $5 million to the Supreme Islamic Council and $2 million to the Christian Council. On sports, he said the government has introduced a sports levy on GSM operators to develop sports facilities and empower the youth. At the new Yundum meeting, the people asked for upgrading of Yundum Health Post, which lacks a labor ward, to a health center. They also want the development of their football field. In addition to a modern car park, there is a need to construct roads such as the Makumbaya Madinari Road. In Nemakungu, the people of all Yundum constituency appealed for proper water canal to address the floods during the rainy season. According to them, the water and electricity supply is not adequate due to the expansion of the community. The locals were full of praises for the First Lady, Fatomata Babaro, for her support to the community health center. On roads, they want the construction of the Wellingara to Sukuta via Nemakunku Road. The youth said they also want a skill center and the completion of their football field project. On security, they said a police station is a necessity in Nemakunku. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Aliou Cisse.
The First Lady, Fatomata Babaro, through her foundation, on Friday presided over her annual distribution of cash prizes and gifts to families of the first babies born in 2021 in various hospitals. Aliou Cisse again.
The distribution, which has now become a tradition, was done at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital in Banjul, Serekunda General Hospital in Kanifing, and Bundung Maternal and Child Health Hospital in Bundung. The First Lady was accompanied by the Health Minister, Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate, and officials of her foundation. Minister Samate, while welcoming the new babies, applauded the First Lady for her initiative to reach out to the newborns and their mothers.
Your Excellency, this event has been a very useful event. It is an opportunity for people to gather the first day of the year in a very fruitful way to welcome the first babies of the year. And we are delighted that under your distinguished leadership, you have expanded it across the country to other hospitals and across the country for the babies and their families to benefit from the benevolence of your foundation, your own self, your foundation, and our partners, Gamtel Gamcel and Car Power.
According to him, there has been so much transformation in the hospitals in terms of quality health service delivery, unlike before when critical medical equipment were lacking.
The health sector, you would have seen, as all the other sectors are being revolutionized in this country as we speak. This hospital has seen a whole lot of remarkable improvements since this government came into office. We have seen in this hospital equipment that we never had before. In those days, getting monitors in this hospital, oxygen concentrators was a nightmare. You can all bear me witness. Suction machines, the nurses will tell us, they will run from ward to ward, rush to ICU to borrow their suction machine, and then run to A&E to suck fluid out of a patient to save the lives. And I'm sure those are things of the past now.
Fatou Cisse, Chief Executive Officer of the FAR Foundation, said the FAR Foundation is proud to visit the newborns.
Thank you once again, Your Excellency. We're back here as our yearly routine. We've been doing this since Her Excellency and her family took over the country as the first family. We've been here year on year, and every year she increased her horizon, bringing new ideas as how to help the new families, the families with the new baby, and also motivate everyone around her.
The regional governors will make similar presentations on behalf of the First Lady to the newborns at the different regional hospitals. It is hoped that the donations will be used in the interest of and for the betterment of the newborns. Coming into the world at the time of a pandemic, we wish them all long life and good health. Reporting for QTV News, I am Alu Cisse.
We will take a short commercial break, and when we will take a look at local and international news. Do stay tuned. Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. World Braille Day is commemorated on January 4th of each year, having been set aside by the United Nations to raise awareness of the importance of Braille as a means of communication in the full realization of the human rights for blind and partially sighted people. More in this report. Braille is used by blind and partially sighted people to read the same books and periodicals as those printed in a visual format. Braille is a tactile representation of alphabetic and numerical symbols using 6 dots to represent each letter and numbers, and even musical, mathematical and scientific symbols. Braille is named after its inventor in the 19th century, Frenchman Louis Braille. The UN says Braille is essential in the context of education, freedom of expression and opinion, as well as social inclusion. The World Blind Union is the global organization representing the estimated 285 million people worldwide who are blind or partially sighted. They strongly recommend that all blind persons have access to a variety of books and publications in Braille that are up to date. This recommendation can be achieved in part by governments ratifying the Marrakesh Treaty, which allows for copyright exemptions to facilitate the creation of accessible books and other copyrighted works for the import and export of such materials across national boundaries. Jaita says the accessibility of Braille is very limited in the Gambia. The Persons with Disabilities Bill was tabled on June 8, 2020 at the second ordinary session of the National Assembly in the legislative year, but is yet to be passed.
One very important thing that I would encourage the government is the limited disability bill. It's a very important thing that has really been dragging for a very long time. It has over 20 years now. And most of these issues that we are talking about are all highlighted in the disability bill. And therefore, to ensure that bail is accessible, bail information is provided to every blind person in the country, to ensure that persons with disabilities, including disabled people's rights are protected.
According to the United Nations, life under lockdown has posed several issues in terms of independence and isolation, especially for people who rely on the use of touch to communicate their needs and access information. The pandemic has revealed how critically important it is to produce essential information in accessible format, including in Braille and audible formats. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Jennifer Sonko. Great conversation there with Aliu Jaite. Now, a former United States soldier and one-time Deputy Inspector General of Police and Director General of the Gambia Immigration Office appeared before the TRRC to narrate his ordeal at the hands of the NIA and the junglers. Tamsir Jasseh was in 2006 sentenced to 20 years in jail with hard labor for having knowledge in the 2006 failed Ndur Cham coup without reporting it. Babukar C has the rest of that.
Tamsir Jasseh began his testimony with a background information of his education and work as a security officer in the U.S. Army to coming back home, where he served as an advisor to the IGP, his appointment as Deputy IGP, his removal and reappointment as the Director General of the Immigration, and final dismissal from government. Jasseh told the commission that he also worked for Pristine Consulting, the company responsible for the country's current biometric ID card. On the Ndur Cham attempted coup, the witness said he had been informed by Ndur Cham of his plans to topple Jammeh, saying he, Ndur Cham, was not happy with the alleged killings happening under the Jammeh regime. On the 22nd of March 2006, the witness said he received a call from Ndur Cham informing him that the attempted coup had failed, following which he went and picked up Cham to find an escape route.
We stopped and bought some drinks in Birkama market. Asked for directions and drove to the border. It was that simple, not because we were smart, but the security is that weak.
2 days after helping Ndur Cham escape the country, Jasseh said men in black came to his house and arrested him, but he quickly managed to call the American embassy to inform them of his arrest before he was whisked away and locked up at Mile 2 Central Prison. Tamsir Jasseh said he was picked up at 3 a.m. and taken to the NIA, where he faced a panel of investigators involving the police, NIA, and the soldiers. He described the environment as threatening, rough, and disorganized, as the soldiers were on standby to torture accused persons. He said he was threatened by the NIA boss Haidara to confess to being part of the coup, and that he in fact was part of the coup and helped Ndur Cham leave the country. He told the commission that he was asked to say the Senegalese government was part of the coup and to implicate other political figures at the time as being part of the coup, which he refused to do.
ASP Lamin Cisse, who was at the time ASP, was standing right there over the window, observing Malik Jatta, broke a plastic chair over my head and actually put a 9mm pistol in my mouth.
The witness, like other witnesses, confirmed being put on state TV cameras to confess to taking part in the attempted coup plot. After that, Tamsir Jasseh said he was then picked up from Mile 2 again and taken back to the NIA to be tortured.
And then the beating started.
Right there and then.
Right there and then. And with the bag over your head, you can't breathe, you can't see. But when it was all done, I had the first call for prayer.
Jasseh said the same routine continued the following day and other days, telling the commission that he would be seriously beaten and be given names of individuals to say they were part of the coup, which he refused to do. while serving jail term at Mile 2, with many Gambians believing that Ndur Cham had left the country. The witness then made a surprise revelation.
Ndur Cham never left the Gambia.
Ndur Cham musta joge Gambia.
Until the day he was captured and killed, he never left the Gambia.
Bes biñ ko jappé be rey ko musta génn réewi Gambia.
How did you know that?
naka nga xamee loolu.
I was talking to Ndur Cham about 2 or 3 times a week.
maa ngi doon wax Ndur Cham bés bu ay bi dinaa wax moom ñaari yoon ba ñetti yoon sax.
In his location outside Farafenni.
ci fa nga xam ne fa la dëkkoon ca gannaaw Farafenni.
He would even send me money.
Tamsir Jasseh said he kept in contact with Ndur Cham while in prison and even after leaving prison. The witness said after appearing in court, he was sentenced to 20 years in jail with hard labor, but spent 6.5 years in jail when he was removed from prison and taken directly to the airport and sent back to the United States. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
A tragic double accident on Saturday evening in Helakunda village in the Upper River region took the lives of 2 youthful men and left one critically injured. A reporter in URR, Fode Mane, who was there to investigate the first crash, visited the scene, and this is his report narrated by Momudu Gajaga.
According to eyewitnesses, one accident had already occurred close to 4 p.m. when a big, heavily loaded truck carrying rice, sugar and milk powder toppled over the Helakunda hill en route to Basse. Luckily, both the driver and his apprentice were saved. However, that was not the end of the drama, as tragedy struck around 7:24 p.m. when a vehicle loaded with plywood timbers and groundnut husks coming from Basse hit the overturned truck, leading to 2 fatalities and leaving 1 person critically injured. A driver license recovered at the scene listed the driver as Sheikh Omar Ba of Jamali Musa village of CRR. He was pronounced dead at the scene, as was a young man said to be his apprentice. Another person was pulled out injured and in a critical condition. According to the driver of the first truck, he was climbing the hill when his engine went off and eventually he lost control and toppled off the hill. The cause of the later accident remains unknown at the time of this broadcast. Despite providing signal reflectors along the highway, some commuters and eyewitnesses in Helakunda blamed the police for failing to provide efficient and safe traffic signals to vehicles and others using the road at the time of the first accident to give alert to prevent further accidents. The 2 casualties from the first and the survivor from the second accident were all taken to the Basse District Hospital after an emergency response by the Bagadaji Health Post and Gambisara ambulances. Momudu Gajaga, QTV News.
We will take another short commercial break, but still to come, international and sports news. Do stay tuned. Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. On to some international news. In the final weeks of his presidency, American President Donald Trump appears determined to do everything to hold on to power. What had long descended into an unseemly affair appears to have taken another extraordinary turn. Omar Pijalo has the rest of that story.
In a bizarre turn of events, an audio recording has been released in which President Trump can be heard berating, begging and threatening Georgia's Republican Secretary of State to find the votes necessary to move the state electoral college to his support. Even though all 50 states have satisfied the election results, including some after recounts and unsuccessful legal challenges, President Trump has continued to allege widespread electoral fraud without providing any evidence since the 3rd November vote. The claims of ballot rigging have been widely rejected by state and federal election officials and by courts in 61 court cases, 60 of which the president has lost. The president's desperations to clinch onto the presidency has led to his latest barely believable episode, in which the president is hard-telling Georgia's top election officials to find enough votes to overturn the election results. He said, and I quote, "I just want to find 11,780 votes." However, Mr. Ravin Sfaga is hard replying that Georgia's results are correct. Democrat President-elect Joe Biden won Georgia alongside other swing states, winning 306 electoral college votes to Mr. Trump's 232. The White House has not commented on the release of the audio, although in a tweet before the video was made public, President Trump mentioned speaking to Georgia's Secretary of State about electoral fraud. Congress is due to formally approve the election results on 6 January, and Mr. Biden, a Democrat, is due to be inaugurated as president on the 20th of January. All 10 living former U.S. defense secretaries have urged President Trump not to question the election results in an opinion piece for the Washington Post. The group also said he should not involve the military in voting disputes, an idea that's been mooted by some of Mr. Trump's supporters. Later in the call, Mr. Trump can be heard alternately cajoling and pressurizing Georgia's Secretary of State. He insisted that he had won the election in Georgia and told Mr. Ravin Sfaga that there was nothing wrong with saying you have recalculated. But Mr. Ravin Sfaga responded by saying, "The challenges you have, Mr. President, is that the data you have is wrong." The president then threatened the official with possible legal consequences. There is a developing split in the Republican Party after 11 senators said they will not vote to certify Mr. Biden's election victory in a Senate session on 6 January, which called for a 10-day delay to audit unsubstantiated allegations of election fraud. Vice President Mike Pence, who was president of the Senate, is due to oversee the session and declare Mr. Biden's the winner. Meanwhile, 4 Republican senators, including Mitt Romney, have signed a statement saying they will vote to certify Mr. Biden's win. Top Republicans have said the Senate's role in satisfying the election is largely ceremonial and should not be an opportunity for further lengthy debate about the results. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has already recognized Mr. Biden's victory and asked other Republicans not to object. Biden's senior advisor, Bob Barrow, said the recording was irrefutable proof of Trump pressurizing and threatening an official in his own party to overturn a state lawful certified vote count and fabricate an order in its place. Mr. Biden's narrow win in Georgia was the first by a Democratic presidential candidate in a generation. It has raised hopes among Democrats that they could win 2 Senate runoffs in the state on Tuesday. That result will give their party control of Congress. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
A man who survived stowing away on a flight from Johannesburg to London in 2015 recounts his extraordinary story in a new documentary by Channel 4 in the UK.
In an insanely daring, perhaps even foolhardy attempt to go to greener pastures, 2 friends in the summer of 2015 hatched a plan to stow away on a British Airways jet plane flying from Johannesburg, South Africa to London, UK, an 8,000-mile journey. One of them survived the journey and the other didn't. His body was found on a roof below the Heathrow flight path. The one that survived was found on the tarmac at Heathrow, semi-conscious and with a shattered leg. His name is Temba Kabeka, a South African who now goes by the name of Justin and lives in the United Kingdom's northern city of Liverpool. He was given leave to remain in the UK. But little else has been known about him until now. Sometime after that fateful flight landing, 2 documentary makers undertook a project to document the untold story of the one that survived. The result is The Man Who Fell from the Sky, airing on Channel 4 tonight. According to one reviewer, the documentary tells the story of 2 friends and unfolds over a 5-year period. The opening shots are of Justin, who had sustained life-changing injuries from the accident, moving on his crutches along the streets of Liverpool. We learned that he had been in critical condition for 6 months after the accident and got to know of his friend's death when a police officer showed him a picture of his friend and said he did not make it. His name was Carlito Valley, Mozambican. The friends prepared for their stowaway by reading books on aviation and engineering and came up with a plan they reckoned had been well thought through. They hid in the landing gear of the flight, and Justin wrapped his arms through cabling, which left him with burn marks, but in the end saved his life as he managed to remain on board while his friend plummeted to the ground as the landing gear opened. The last words Valley uttered, according to Justin, were, "We made it," just before Justin himself passed out because of the lack of oxygen. After Justin's discharge from the hospital, he was for a period homeless in London before moving to Liverpool, where he is making new friends, he says, and trying to forge a career in hip-hop. The documentary reveals that there have been more than 100 recorded stowaway attempts involving people hiding in aircraft wheel wells, and that London is the most common target destination. Since October 1996, there have been at least 16 reported instances of people stowing away on flights that have come through London, and over the years, bodies of those who fall from such flights have been found on southwest London high streets and in parking lots that lie on the Heathrow's busy flight path. These stories are stark reminders of the desperate lengths that people would go to escape dire realities. To Justin, taking such suicidal risks, and I quote, "didn't even matter to me. I just wanted to be out from where I was. Everything was just falling apart. So we decided, let's just get out of the country. Let's go somewhere else. I thought it was worth it because of my situation and what I was going through. It was the only choice that I had to survive." End of quote. Justin has been the lucky one, and unfortunately, his unlikely survival may well inspire others to take the same great risk to get to a perceived promised land. For QTV News, I am Mudumbuch.
Gambia's Goodwill Sports Ambassador and former footballer His Excellency Tijan Jaita has secured an Italian volleyball coach for the Gambia's female volleyball national team. Italian Roberto Farinelli is set to be the new coach of the women national side for the next 5 years. Babaro has the rest of that.
The move came less than 5 months after Jaita's appointment as a sports goodwill ambassador for the country by the government through the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Tijan Jaita's first intervention is in volleyball after it was announced recently that the former Scorpion midfielder has secured a volleyball coach for the Gambia's female volleyball national team. In welcoming the gathering at the Semakajane Hall, the first vice president of the Gambia Volleyball Federation, Lamin Jammeh, described the initiative by Tijan as historic.
The landmark achievements that has come on our way through our own sport ambassador, Mr. Tijan Jaita. He has secured a coach for us from Italy, and then by April, we will have another formal gathering like this where we will unveil the coach and we will do the signing ceremony. But today we want to give you some of the nitty-gritties that will lead to the coming of the coach and some of the important benefits that the volleyball and the Gambia as a whole will get from this important venture. So without much ado, I will seize this opportunity to invite our able ambassador, with a difference. Mr. Tijan Jaita, we all know him in football, but he has a big heart for sport in general, and his first assignment is for volleyball, and we are very much grateful for that.
The president of the Gambia Volleyball Federation, Dudu Jallo, thanked Tijan Jaita for coming to the aid of volleyball, saying the coach secured from Italy is a huge boost for the Gambia, as the Italian Volleyball League is among the best league in the world.
There has been a lot of development in our centers of young people, both male and female. And the results of our female and male volleyball teams have been great, even at the international level. But we have been doing this without a highly qualified coaching staff within the country. The coaches that we have in the Gambia are not bad because they have gone up to level 2 FIVB. But really, we know if you want to get to the very high level of international competition, you need a more technical and more qualified caliber of coach to be in the midst of this good coaches that we have in our country. And this was lacking. It has never happened in our sports. And I may be wrong, but I think apart from football, I don't think I personally, during my lifetime in sports in the Gambia, I have seen a foreign coach leading any other sports in this country. So this also makes us to be very proud and really to be very, very thankful to the ambassador.
For Tijan, his appointment as a Goodwill Sports Ambassador for the country is a huge task and wants to do his best to see that all sports practice in the country move forward.
Mange look forward pour gëna jappante volleyball federation ak other federations yi nga xamne ñoo nekk Gambia.
I am looking forward to a further collaboration with other sports federations in the country because I have an ambition which is not only to support football but sports in general. I want to do my best to support other sports being practiced in the country so that the athletes will benefit just like how I benefited in football. With the contacts I have in Italy, when I contacted them and explained to them about the situation with the Volleyball Federation, it was very easy to come up with something for the Gambia, and I am pleased to say that the project is a huge win for the country because the Italian government will be responsible for the coach and his staff's salary. Mariama Sow, the captain of the Gambia female volleyball national team, thanked His Excellency Ambassador Tijan Jete for his timely intervention.
We are very appreciative of your efforts. None of us really thought that volleyball will be your first focus. But having you as a football player and focusing on volleyball, this is really commendable. We say thank you to you. This initiative, I believe, could not have come at a better time. It has been almost a decade now the female volleyball team have not participated in any major competition, especially in international competition. So having a coach, an international coach, coming all the way from Italy to come and train the national female volleyball team, I think this is really great and also amazing. We want to say a big thank you to you. Again, over the years, we struggled a lot. We faced a lot of challenges. And I believe one of the challenges that we face is having an international coach, someone who is more au fait with international standard.
The National Volleyball Federation of the Gambia is keen to improve the international ranking of the women's team, starting the project that aims to include international collaboration. The team is currently ranked 119th globally, while our neighbors Senegal are ranked 40th in the world. The project should start next April and is entrusted to Italian coach Ferinelli, currently who is at the helm of 4th Division Serie B2 side in his home country. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
Before we end this news bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. A press release from the Independent Electoral Commission states that due to logistical challenges beyond its control, the general registration of voters exercise scheduled to start on 14 January has been postponed until further notice. New dates will be announced in due course. Following the resumption of the Meet the People tour, President Barrow has continued to hear the concerns of communities in Sanyang and Burfoot, as well as in the New Yundum and Nemakunku. In what is becoming an established tradition, the First Lady Fatomata Babaro has made her annual donations to the families of babies born on the first day of 2021 in various hospitals. World Braille Day is commemorated today, and we heard about some of the problems experienced by blind and partially sighted people in the Gambia. A former USA soldier and one-time Deputy Inspector General of Police and Director General of the Gambia Immigration Office appeared before the TRRC to narrate his ordeal at the hands of the NIA and the junglers. And in yet another accident on our roads, 2 people have died after the vehicle they were in collided with an overturned lorry. In international news, according to a recently released audio recording, U.S. President Donald Trump appears ready to go extraordinary lengths to clinch onto power. And we heard about the man who fell from the sky and survived. In sports news, Gambia Sports Goodwill Ambassador secures a full-time international coach for our women's. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Do join us tomorrow, same time for more news. Thanks for watching and have a great week ahead.